Have you ever walked away from an argument and felt guilty for staying silent? Maybe someone insulted you. Maybe a coworker crossed a line. Maybe a family member pushed every button you have. And instead of fighting back, you said nothing. Some people saw it as weakness. But what if silence isn't weakness at all? What if choosing silence is one of the strongest psychological skills a person can develop? Today, we're going to explore the psychology behind choosing silence over anger, why it works, and most importantly, how you can use it in real life without becoming passive or allowing others to walk all over you. Let's begin. Why anger feels so powerful. When someone hurts, disrespects, or frustrates us, our brain instantly switches into defense mode. The emotional center of the brain reacts faster than the logical center. Before we've had time to think, our body prepares for conflict. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tighten. Your breathing becomes shallow. And suddenly, saying something harsh feels necessary. In those moments, anger creates the illusion of control. It tells us, if I respond immediately, I'll win. If I prove them wrong, I'll feel better. If I hurt them back, justice will be served. But psychology shows something different. Most emotional reactions are temporary. The words we speak in anger often last much longer than the feeling itself. That's why many people regret what they said during an argument, but rarely regret the words they chose not to say. Silence is not suppression. One of the biggest misunderstandings about silence is believing it means bottling up emotions. That's not what we're talking about. Healthy silence isn't pretending you're fine. It's creating space between feeling and reacting. Think of silence as a pause button. Instead of allowing emotions to drive the conversation, you give your rational mind time to catch up. This small gap can completely change the outcome of a situation. In psychology, this is called emotional regulation, the ability to manage emotions instead of being controlled by them. The strongest people aren't those who never feel anger. They're the ones who can feel it without becoming it. Practical tip number 1. Use the 10-second rule. The next time you're triggered, don't respond immediately. Take 10 slow seconds. Not 10 seconds scrolling your phone. Not 10 seconds planning your comeback. Just 10 seconds breathing. Ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want from this conversation? You'll be surprised how often your response changes. A few seconds can save relationships, careers, and countless hours of regret. Why silence makes you more powerful. When emotions run high, most people expect resistance. They expect arguments. They expect a reaction. Silence interrupts that pattern. Psychologists call this breaking the emotional loop. The other person may be prepared for a fight. They may have rehearsed their arguments. But when you remain calm and composed, they lose the emotional fuel they were expecting. This doesn't mean silence is a manipulation tactic. It means you're refusing to let someone else control your emotional state. And that is real power. Practical tip number 2. Respond later, not never. Choosing silence doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations forever. Sometimes you need to speak up. Sometimes boundaries need to be set. The key is timing. Instead of responding in the heat of the moment, say, I need some time to think about this. Let's continue this conversation later. I don't want to say something I'll regret. These statements communicate maturity, not weakness. You're not escaping the problem. You're approaching it with a clear mind. The link between silence and self-respect. People often assume they must defend themselves constantly to maintain respect. But the truth is, not every comment deserves a response. Not every criticism deserves your attention. Not every provocation deserves your energy. Emotionally mature people understand something important. Your attention is valuable. Every argument you enter comes with a cost. Time, energy, mental peace. Sometimes the highest form of self-respect is deciding that a particular battle isn't worth fighting. Practical tip number 3. Ask yourself one question. Before responding to someone who's upset you, ask, will this matter 6 months from now? Many arguments fail this test immediately. The rude comment, the online debate, the unnecessary criticism, the misunderstanding. When viewed through a longer lens, many conflicts simply aren't worth carrying. What silence communicates? Silence can communicate many things: confidence, patience, Emotional control. Wisdom. It shows that your emotions don't dictate your actions. However, silence should never be confused with fear. If someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, silence alone isn't enough. Eventually, calm communication becomes necessary. The goal isn't to stay silent forever. The goal is to choose your words intentionally rather than emotionally. Practical tip number 4. Replace reaction with observation. When anger appears, become curious. Instead of saying, I'm angry, try saying, I'm noticing anger. This small shift creates psychological distance. You stop identifying with the emotion and start observing it. Research in emotional awareness suggests that naming and observing emotions reduces their intensity. The feeling may still exist, but it loses some of its power over you. Why wise people often speak less? Have you noticed that the calmest people in a room are often the most influential? They don't rush to prove themselves. They don't interrupt constantly. They don't react to every challenge. That's because wisdom often comes from observation. When you're talking, you're expressing what you already know. When you're silent, you're gathering information. Silence allows you to notice patterns, intentions, and emotions that would otherwise be missed. In many situations, understanding is more valuable than winning. Practical tip number 5. Create a personal cooling off ritual. Everyone needs a strategy for handling anger. Create a simple ritual you can use whenever emotions rise. For example, take 3 deep breaths, drink a glass of water, go for a 5-minute walk, write your thoughts in a notebook, listen to calming music. The goal isn't to avoid emotions. The goal is to process them before acting on them. Over time, this becomes a habit, and habits eventually become character. Final thoughts. Choosing silence over anger doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're afraid. And it certainly doesn't mean you're allowing others to control you. True strength is not found in the loudest reaction. It's found in the ability to remain calm when every part of you wants to explode. Because anyone can react, anyone can argue, anyone can lose control. But it takes emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and discipline to pause, think, and respond wisely. The next time anger shows up, remember, you don't have to win every argument. You don't have to answer every insult. You don't have to react to every provocation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all.